It's time for the latest Delivering Marketing Joy. This time I get to talk with Tim Brown from QCA, and he tells us how to take safety to the next level. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is a repeat guest. He's kind enough to join me again, Tim Brown, the Executive Director of QCA. Tim, thanks so much for joining me, man.
Hey, Kirby, I really appreciate being on the show. I think this is my third time now.
That is amazing.
It's great. It's been a while, and I'm just thrilled to be back, and thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Absolutely. And it's important that we're having this conversation because there's some new things happening, and I wanted to dig into that. So QCA is launching a new program. You kind of let me know about this, that it's a new program for distributors. So it's brand new. So let's just go 10,000 feet. I mean, tell us about the program and why now?
We're excited to talk about this. Something our board of directors and people involved in QCA already are just thrilled about. And so I'll get into the why now, but I need to probably set a little bit of the background here first. So
for sure.
In January, we announced right before Expo a new participation model. And in that model, it included a new tiered fee structure. Okay. We added a level actually for end buyers to participate in QCA. Now, not at any certification level or anything like that, but it's really a way that they can support our mission because our mission really impacts them more than anybody else. And we finally just got our first F1000 client on or participant on board with that, not client, forgive my language, but first participant on board. And we're really excited about that as well. So we anticipate many more, but we mentioned at that time that a certification was coming.
Okay.
And we weren't fully ready, but we had these other things we wanted to launch and get out to the industry, and we wanted to build the momentum. And so we opted to just get it all out there then and say, hey, to be determined on the launch date of the certification. Sure. And so caused a lot of buzz. The last several months, I've seen more activity with people reaching out to us, inquiring about what we're doing than at any time. And many have asked about the certification and when it's going to actually take effect. And so in that time between then and now, we followed up with a new logo. We have a new brand look, color scheme altogether. We've launched a new website. We have a new database for managing our participants. It's kind of a member association management software program of sorts, which will help us to market better and control things better on our end and be more efficient. So it's really been an exciting time. We've had a ton going on, and it all kind of culminates now with this certification. And so this really this is something that's been asked for since the QCA started, and it's a certification for industry distributors and decorators even that like I said, was part of the new model and just wasn't ready, and now here it is. So it really, the changes to the model, the fees, certification, end buyer involvement, all that stuff. It was a result of the board's desire to be more engaging and inclusive throughout the industry. One of the knocks against us was that there was this perception out there that it was a club mentality or a exclusivity. And the fees at the time would probably make people think that. Right. They were necessary. But now it's distributors, decorators, suppliers, end buyers, all this coming together. And it's really been the result of feedback from the industry. Yeah. When I was on the distributor side, I was a big proponent of QCA, but I wanted to be certified myself. I know what we were doing, and I know that we could do better. So I wanted the support of an organization to help me take it to even another level. But then I wanted something tangible to show for that because I knew it would give me a competitive advantage. And so, distributors, like I said, they've been asking for this since QCA began. End buyers, when I go out to shows and I talk to them, they want their vendors certified. They don't want to know their vendors are buying from certified companies only. They want something from them. So it only makes sense. It took our organization some time to mature.
Yeah, for sure.
And and now we're there. We've matured to that point, and we're making the changes. And so that's why now.
Yeah.
And then I'll just give you a little background on the how it is. And so it consists of, like I said, the 4 categories. We got that end buyer affiliate. We're continuing with our distributor advocates. So these are distributors that can basically, they complete an application that we verify some information in, ask for proof that they have a brand safety culture.
Okay.
Compliance is important to them, that they want to be brand stewards and they want to affiliate and show support for an organization and be associated with us. And so that's there. That's always been there, but we've modified it now.
Right.
And now smaller distributors can afford to be a part of it. We've had a couple smaller distributors join.
Yeah, I love the idea that it's evolved because of feedback from the industry too. And from end buyers. That's super interesting to me.
Well, and that's just it. I think we needed to listen, and that was since I've come on board, we've made a conscious effort to really listen to what people in the industry believe we are, what they believe we should be, what they want from us, what they expect from us, and this is really the culmination of that. And so it's really that feedback, and then that had a lot to do with this certification. And so that's the third level, and then of course our accredited suppliers. So the inclusion though of the end buyer engagement, I mean that's pretty cool too, and it's going to allow our brand safety aware organizations outside our industry of all sizes to really publicly communicate their expectations of our industry.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited, like I said, about the one that came on. I'd encourage people your listeners to check out our website and see who that is.
Yeah.
And they're going to actually, these companies, as they join, they're going to be participating in a roundtable. And that roundtable is designed to help guide this organization in meeting the needs of the brands, the ones we serve. And so, like I said, I encourage them to listen to that. And then, you had a question?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, so like you've got me intrigued. And so like, let's say like I am learning about this. So what do I need to do? What does a distributor need to do to get involved? And like, do they just go to your website? What's the next step?
They will go to our website. Okay. So to start that off, it's designed with the distributor decorator needs in mind. So they start with a complete self-assessment.
Okay.
And then that includes a gap analysis. We identify process and procedure voids. It requires supporting documentations. Where are you now? What do we got to do to get you where you need to be? We have a compliance committee that reviews that, no different than what we have with our suppliers for the accreditation. And then from there, we'll build upon that self-assessment and develop a comprehensive compliance program for procedures and protocols. Upon completion of that, then there's a series of audits. We have outside firms, UL and Bureau Veritas are authorized to do our audits. They would come in, do the audits of the company's headquarters, and then just like our accreditation program, it's a renewal every couple of years. And so that's how that process would flow. And really, it's a matter of reaching out to me. You can email me, you can call me, you can go on our website and apply. And to get started, and that's how they can do it.
That's cool. So I'm curious to know, I mean, and obviously you've done this from feedback, right? Like I said, I love that. But what do you think? Obviously you believe this is powerful for the industry. So what do you think this new certification means from an industry standpoint?
Boy, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And it might take me a while to get through it, and I'm a talker to begin with. Really, any distributor right now could say they use QCA suppliers.
Okay.
And end buyers in RFIs, RFPs, RFQs are increasingly asking for verification of compliance or asking for certifications. And so while it's great, we encourage more distributors to use the accredited suppliers,
right,
and we appreciate them for doing that. They can also say we have a compliance program, but now this provides proof.
Yeah.
And so that proof is beyond education. It's somebody else coming in independently and evaluating what you're doing. And that carries a lot of weight. To me, this is a game changer. It's a strategic competitive advantage for industry companies that take advantage of it and want to work with larger clients. It allows a distributor or decorator really to take the next steps towards greater, more lucrative business opportunities. It's because they not only understand it, but now they're going to have the proof behind it.
Right.
And I really this is where I'm worried about digressing, but I think it's important. There was a recent ASI study in the that just went out. I don't know if you saw it in the State of the Industry counselor that just went out. And there's really some alarming statistics in there.
Okay.
And really what alarms me is the lack of effort and resources really being put into compliance by industry suppliers. And this is something that I've believed all along was happening, but now there's numbers behind it. And in 2018, so I've got this and I'm going to be reading this.
Yeah, that's good.
2018, 30% of industry suppliers spent $0 on safety and compliance measures.
Wow.
Now let's go to 17% of industry suppliers spent $1,000 or less.
Jeez.
One product safety test that your client demands could be $1,000.
Right.
Maybe it could be two tests,
Yeah.
25% of industry suppliers spent $1,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
That's some testing maybe. It could be some education. It might be a few hours with a consultant. It surely isn't a compliance program. And then 14% of industry suppliers spent $5,000 to $25,000. So this is really, this is at least as investments being made and you're taking it seriously. But when I was on the distributor side, that kind of money wouldn't give me the confidence to work with that supplier. Now 14% are spending $25,000 plus. In that same article, HIT, who was interviewed, was spending over $1 million.
Wow.
When you look at the sheer number of products like an organization like HIT carries and what they're doing from testing, and this isn't just product safety testing.
Right.
They're social compliance. They're going, who's making my products? Is it ethical? Are people being treated right? They're auditing factories. They're checking their whole supply chain security. They're working on environmental stewardship measures to make sure that they're producing in a way that's not polluting and that's respecting the environment. And they're different product quality tests. And so that's a true robust compliance program. That is what QCA suppliers go through. That doesn't mean that everybody spends $1 million. Plus, a smaller supplier and that's accredited by us is not spending near that kind of money, but they're surely spending overall more than $25,000 because they believe in it and they're getting ROI because it's opening doors. And so it really puts the onus on the distributors now, and that's how it's going to impact the industry. They can't really, in my mind, rely on suppliers in the industry to address compliance on their own. They have to demand it. And with the certification, now distributors of all sizes are going to collectively have the tools, the guidance, and the voice behind them to hold suppliers more accountable. In my mind, that lends credibility to our industry.
Yeah.
An industry that when I'm out talking to end buyers gets little respect. Oh, Chinese, throwaway, trinkets and trash, all words that just go right through me.
Yeah.
And then I have to explain to them and ask them questions about how they use it. The end buyers are just as much at fault for some of this. Give me the cheapest thing I can get.
Right.
And then I have to ask them, what's your brand mean to you?
Yeah.
Do you want that thing to walk off the floor? You talk about this all the time, so I don't need to go into all that. But this is another thing. Now you get them beyond throwing the product away because it's something useful and it makes sense and it's not cheaply made. But all of a sudden it doesn't comply or it's found. Let's take the Spice Girls shirts earlier in the year that were a cause-related item to promote gender equality and promote women's rights and to say all for the right things. And here they find it's being made in a factory that is abusing women and not paying them fairly. And so it's not just product safety. It's so much to compliance. And so that's why, to me, this is what it means for the industry. It's gaining respect. And so any certification, whether it's an individual an organization, it carries weight. And the end buyers want proof that their vendors are doing things, and this allows that. Let's take whether it's the Product Safety Aware designation, the TAS, CAS, MAS, or the BASI, MASI. People that have that stuff are proud to promote it. They're all education-based. When you can promote something that is tangible, that you could take and physically say, we've been held up under scrutiny, and we've passed the sniff test, that's a differentiator. Yeah. That to me is a huge differentiator. And small suppliers, medium size suppliers have that with accreditation. Same goes now for all size of distributors. They're going to have this certification to go through. And so it's substantial, it's tangible, and it's beyond self-attestations.
Wow.
Everybody is talking about it now. Because of the great education that's going on in the industry related to this, people are talking the talk, and they're making all these broad claims and self-attestations, but then the numbers bear out. We're spending $1,000 to $5,000 a year on compliance.
Right.
Then you have the ones who, I'm going to get on my soapbox in a minute, and I know I'm going, but I think I'm trying to make a point. Let's say, look at the industry events. The number of people who attend, sponsor all the industry events, and I believe in these events. Right. I've sponsored them, I've exhibited them, I've attended them for years, and I wish I could attend more. And so I'm a supporter, and what I'm about to say needs to be placed in the right context. I'm not saying don't put your money there, and I'm not saying don't support those. I would encourage everybody to do a better job of attending these events and being engaged and helping support our trade association and others within the industry that put on these events. But let's say it costs an average of $1,500 to $2,000 to register. Then you pay a week at a hotel. Usually the hotel is a nice hotel if you want to stay where everybody is and network. So let's just say that's $1,000 for the week, which is generally going to be on the low side if you're at one of these events. And then you've got air, car, Uber, however you travel, and any other incidentals. And let's just average that out as $5,000 per person to go to one of these events.
Right.
You haven't even sponsored yet. You're just attending. Then I see some of these companies that send 2, 3, 4 people to that event. Now, let's say that a distributor decides they're going to sponsor the event, and it costs $5,000 or $10,000 to sponsor. Their clients aren't the clients of that event.
Right.
So you're sponsoring it, and it's great. That's what I'm saying. Continue to support it. But you've got the investment of your people being there. You've got these sponsorship fees. And from a strategic standpoint, investing, wouldn't it make sense to move some of those dollars or think about how you can spend the same amount of money, find it somewhere in your coffers, invest in compliance, because in return, provide a greater rate of return in business and provide safeguards for your business and your client's business. It really comes down to a matter of priorities. And I talked to some of these companies that have said, while I'm looking at 2 or 3 of them at an event saying, wow, we just really can't afford to go through that.
Right.
Where are your priorities? So with the way we've restructured these fees, with the way that we're doing this, and hopefully being able to reach more companies of all sizes, this to me is a game changer for the industry. It really, at least the leaders in the industry and those that are serious about it and are going to do more than talk. So, that's really kind of where we're at. That's cool. Where we're at. We want to protect and grow this industry and support what our trade association is doing.
Well, that's cool. Congratulations, Tim. I know this is a big deal for you and the organization and the industry, so congrats on this. And you've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
Yes, I do. And this one, recently, you've talked to some, with what you do, you put yourself out there. And with that comes risk and reward. And no different than some of the stuff I'm talking about. There's risk and reward with all of this. But I recently listened, and it was actually, I said recently, a few months ago, you did something about where you were receiving some industry criticism, that maybe it was ego or self-promotion with all this stuff you're putting out there and constantly being in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I hear somebody, I watched an interview of yours where somebody the level of a Seth Godin, a marketing guru, is like, people like Kirby Hasseman inspire me. And so you've got these two levels of human nature and where all this goes. And from my standpoint, you and your peers in the industry that are doing these types of things, you're creating conversation that otherwise wouldn't take place. You're putting it in an atmosphere where it's casual and anybody can pick up something. And it's so valuable to this industry. How do you, and this is more almost for advice for people like me and others out in the industry that may be thinking of starting a podcast or doing more to promote. How do you manage that? How do you say, because we focus on the negative, right?
Right.
And so that's got to get you down and think, wow, is this really worth it? Am I that egotistical? But then when you look at a Seth, go, this makes so much sense. And yes, and that props you up. How do you, Kirby Hasseman, cut through all the noise, keep doing what you're doing, and bringing such an awesome program to all of us?
Wow. Well, thank you. First of all, that was super nice of you. Yeah, it was pretty crazy when Seth said that. And then, but yeah, I think a couple things. Number one of the things I talk a lot about, Tim, is that we all have that voice in our head that is telling us that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, and doggone it, people don't actually like us. And I think it's important to say that because I think people who are not putting themselves out there think that they're the only ones that have that voice. What I'll tell you is, we all have those insecurities. We have that voice in our head that says that, and all of us have to overcome it. And number two, I think really the advice I'd give is just try to spend time providing value, whatever that value is to whoever the proposed audience is. I think that's the piece that I keep coming back to is, when you get the part that you're maybe you're being narcissistic or self-promotion, at the end of the day, if I feel like my intent is right, that I'm trying to provide value, then I know that. Right. And so I think as long as my intent is right and I'm truly trying to provide value and give first, as I like to say, then, I think it's about trying to overcome those haters to a degree. As a side note, I asked Seth Godin one time, how do you deal with haters? And his comment was, if the haters aren't showing up, you aren't pushing hard enough. And I thought that was really, really good advice. And it helps me in those moments when the negative voices show up. So I appreciate your kind words, but I think that's give value first. Do that, and then good things will happen.
But I think two things, intent and value.
Yeah.
I think I get that from what you're doing. And I think that is so critical. And then, like Seth said, and we hear it all the time, haters going to hate.
That's
and
right.
We just got it, it's part of it.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I've heard it before, but I need to be reminded of it.
Totally.
If somebody's not mad at you or criticizing you, you're not pushing hard enough. I think that's great advice, and I really appreciate it. Great answer.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Tim. We'll have to do it again sometime, and that was fun, okay?
Looking forward to it. Thanks again for having me. Appreciate it. You have a great one.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.